3, 2, 1, end of test. Keying with a go.
Well, hello there, and we are on segment 4 of the most coolest video series ever at Edwards Air Force Base Test Pilot School. Stay to this video to catch all the cool stuff. So now we have moved into the human factor, which is really you have the machines, you know what a machine will do,
right?
But you never know what a human being will do. And I have Dojo here who is making it his life's work.
Yep.
That's a good statement.
Absolutely.
To understanding how human beings integrate with technology.
That's right.
Okay. And that's not, so for you at home, and we were talking about Bob Friend, who is Tuskegee's. He worked for the Air Force, and they worked in the procurement office, and they'd stick a pilot in a airplane, and they'd see how he did the switches, and they'd freeze him, and they do all that kind of stuff. This is different. This is human performance.
Right.
And so, Dojo, why don't you tell me why that's so important in today's environment?
Absolutely. Human factors are important. Well, the human is important to understand because our technology has a tendency to exceed our limitations, right? So let's say, for example, our phone. If you have an iPhone, right, has a lot of different capabilities, but we only use a little bit. It's my job to kind of talk with the operator and figure out how we can mitigate that. So the warfighter has a pretty demanding job, and we need to make sure that we have that tactical edge, that strategic edge. And therefore, we have to ensure that the systems that we're introducing to our warfighter are enhancing and not limiting. I think that's the best that I can say. It's a very delicate balance. We have a tendency to kind of take on more than we think we can, specifically here in the test pilot school where it's very competitive. We also have a tendency to kind of trip ourselves up in putting ourselves in situations where we're not able to necessarily manage. One of the most common things I've found in test is, specifically with my operators, is I feel comfortable enough, the system allows enough comfort, or is well enough, constructed well enough for me to get comfortable, but it's just different enough to where I get lost. And that's that small margin, specifically where at high speeds, high altitudes, doing things that are pushing the limits of the actual machines, have also an adverse impact on our workload. And so, I don't know if I can kind of restate that in a different way, but what we do is very demanding. Our professionals have to go down the path first, and in doing so, we kind of don't know what our limits are. And so, going back to kind of what we were discussing about just kind of performance is, how do we score performance? How do we measure performance?
Well, you said something I thought was really profound is, let's say you make a change. In this case, it's the Air Force, right? Or the cockpit of an airplane. If you're measuring the human interaction with that and you run a calculation that 40% of the population can't manage the technology that's in the aircraft, that's pretty serious.
100%.
And so take me through that a little bit.
Again, in human systems integration, there's a couple different domains. What I'm most focused on are 3 main ones: personnel, human factors engineering, manpower. Manpower are the spaces. What is required of the job? So thinking about the population, as our technology increases, we need to make sure that, for the population that has to operate the system, that they can do it, right? If the technology exceeds human limitations, let's just say, for example, short-term memory. There's the system under test, or the system that we're looking to introduce, requires a very specific set of short-term memory that maybe the operator doesn't have. What can we do to help the situation? We can hire new people, we can change the system, right? Or we can possibly train them. So there's three different avenues that we can look at in terms of getting the population up to speed. What I'm doing that's a little bit different from kind of current measurements is I'm just taking a sample of things I think that are important for flight related tasks, right? So each person walks around with a certain finite set of basic performance resources.
Mine are extremely limited. I'll go with that.
But we all have the same capabilities, right? And so all I'm trying to do is I'm going to take a small sample that I know I can measure and applying systems thinking and saying, hey, you as a human system have a have a finite set of subsystems that I can go and measure and say, hey, these are the things that are important for flight-related tasks. The battery that I put my students through is anywhere from 27 to 30 different measurements that I take. Short-term memory, multi-limb coordination, speed, accuracy, and I derive what's called a throughput. So a throughput is a product of speed and accuracy. And the reason why I'm so interested in throughput is I need to be able to understand where your limitations are and engineer in margin into the system under test. If I can understand what your limitations are and I can find a happy balance between a healthy margin inside of you and your operating capabilities, now I have something of substance to look at the design engineers or the platform experts to say, hey, when I look at the population, these are the things that are hurting the operator. These are the things that we need to kind of target to increase more margin and or be informed enough to say, hey, we need to select more people, or hey, we need to change the training environment in these areas, or we just need to make a whole new system altogether.
So this is like kind of cutting edge.
It is. It's cutting room floor, for sure.
So where do you want to go with this? Where do you see yourself going?
Well, so anywhere there is a human involved, we can apply this. So the work that we're doing here in model-based human systems integration is system agnostic.
You could put it in a car.
Yeah,
put it in
100%. So let's talk about that, right? So let's say 1974 pickup, 3 on the tree, right? There's a couple of us that probably know how to operate this long bed 1970s truck. Then you have your 2023 Tesla Model X, right? Looking at 2 separate systems, 1970s pickup, 3 on the tree, long bed, Tesla Model X. We're going to just drive it, right? We're going to drive and park it. Different demand signature, right? It's going to call on different resources, right? You need to, 1, know how to operate a manual vehicle. 2, understand the gear ratio and being able to shift that thing.
Right.
Right. And now you have the added bonus of lining up this long bed pickup truck with no power steering into a parallel spot. Or you can get in the Tesla Model X, hit a button, and it just
the whole
does
thing
it for
works.
you.
Yeah, wow.
2 separate configurations, 1 task. The task is the same. Drive, parallel park, right? It's going to call on different resources in the human system to operate and do it well, right? Whereas, I would venture to say any one of us could probably do both, but let's just say, I have a 2-year-old son. He could hit the button on the Tesla Model X and it's going to park itself, right? So different capabilities, right, that simplify everyday tasks for us. But when you are in, a multi-million-dollar F-35 or F-16 or whatever new platforms, when the systems become far more complicated, sophisticated, and complex, how do we manage the human system, right? The technology continues to grow, but us as humans have been the same for years, right? And we only have a finite set of resources. And eventually, we'll hit failure if we exceed that. And so,
well, that is like so cool. And I'm gonna figure out a way to keep an eye on what you're doing. And you got to come back and talk to us again at some point, all right?
I would absolutely love to. It is my pleasure. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you for your time.
And so what I use this for is to measure your ability to detect a change, right? In my guys who are like my heavy guys who fly for hours at a time, they got a really good sweep. B-52 guys got a really good sweep. I want to see how what your scan pattern is. Okay? And so I'm gonna show you this picture. One thing is gonna change, one thing only. All right?
Do I need to do anything?
Nope. I'm gonna handle everything for you.
Okay.
So in doing that, so I'm gonna put you under time. Let me grab my trusty dusty.
All right. Remember, he is a test pilot school graduate, and we're going to videotape this
100 years ago. 100 years ago.
A ton of useful information.
Hey, a TPS grad's a TPS grad, so we're gonna test your chops up against these young ones. All right. You gotta represent for them. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna give you a minute. So a minute to tell me what is changing in the picture.
3, 2, 1, end of test. King was a go.
Rise to the blessed day, all my fears have gone away. I guess this means I'm here to stay. Yeah, I'm ready to fly, ready to fly. Wasn't long ago I shook at the thought of being hooked. But ever since I wrote my book, I'm ready to fly, ready to fly.
Come along and join us, we can plug you in a simulator. We'll teach you how to dance and be the perfect imitator. We'll give away all your music to the operator.
I'm not getting anything. What do you guys get?
I think it's the rope. Is the rope moving?
The shadow.
The shadow.
Of the
Oh, it's
yeah,
underneath.
you're right.
Yeah.
That's right. Got it.
And to me, it looked like the rope was moving back and
Good.
forth.
Okay.